Hey guys, welcome back to another Unreal Engine 4 tutorial. We're back doing our point and click inventory system. Last time we left off, we were able to pick up the inventory items and they end up in our inventory menu. So for right now, we're seeing I'm picking up these items, and let's get the last one here, and they all show up. So that's what we did last time. So there's going to be a link to that video right now, as well as the link to it at the end of the video, so just keep an eye out for that. What we're going to work on next, it's going to be I'm thinking I'm going to split this up into a couple of videos, just because things do get a little crazy and hectic, and don't want to have an hour-long tutorial here. Just to show you what we're going to be working on within the next few videos. Once we're able to collect these objects, we want to have the ability to switch them around. And that way you can organize it, you can do whatever you want. Right now we have a lot of debugs going on, so we're not going to do that much for it. But that's what we're going to start working on within these next few videos. So let's go ahead and get started. The first place we're going to need to be is in our HUD. And what we need to do in our HUD is create a new custom event. And hopefully my custom event doesn't crash my version of Unreal, because it does it a lot. But let's right click and create a custom event. I'm just going to name this inventory item mouse click. And with that, we need to create a new input. It's going to be a boolean, and we're just going to call it b mouse click. And what this is going to do, we're basically going to have a check to see if the player is left clicking. And if they are left clicking, is the menu showing, and are they clicking on a menu item? These are a bunch of checks we're going to have to do this whole way. So with that, we need to create a call to this custom event. And this is going to be done within the character blueprint. So let's compile and save that. Let's go into our character blueprint. And we need to create a new event within the event graph. So let's go over here. Let's right click and let's get left mouse button. This is basically going to tell us whether or not the mouse button is being clicked or not. And what we're going to do first for the pressed is we're going to basically create a new boolean if we haven't created it yet. So yeah, we're going to need to create a new boolean variable within our character class. So let's create a new variable. It's going to be boolean. We're going to call this b is mouse click. Compile. Let's make that a public variable just in case we need it. And what we're going to do now is set this to true whenever this is pressed, and set it to false whenever it's released. And then from the pressed and where we make it true, that's where we're going to make a call to that inventory item mouse click event that we made in our HUD. So we need to get a reference to the HUD. So I don't think we have a HUD reference yet. So let's make one here. So this is where we're doing that. So to make this cleaner, because right now this is where we're getting the inventory reference, let's go ahead and let's just cut that out, and let's create a new macro, and we'll just call this create blueprint references. And then we're just going to need an input and an output. Both of them are going to be executables, so we'll name the first one in and the last one out. They're just going to be executable pins like I just said. And then we're going to paste what we cut out, plug that back up, and now we need to make a reference to our HUD within our character. So to do that, we're going to need to do another get all actors of class. So let's just drag this out. Get all actors of class, and then pull from the array variable there. We'll do get. And then from the get, we're going to cast this before we cast it, we have to select a class here. So actor class is going to be our P_C_HUD. And then from the get, we're going to cast it to HUD. So PC HUD. And then from here, we're going to promote it to a variable. We're going to name this HUD reference. And then we're going to just plug that up to the output for now. So let's compile, go back into our event graph, and then from the sequence pin that we unplugged here, let's go ahead and drag out our macro for create blueprint references. Just plug it back up, compile, and now all we have to do is grab a get of our HUD reference, and then we need to call the inventory item mouse click event. And we also have to get a get of the mouse click variable, the boolean, to plug that up. And let's just organize these. Oops. And then we're just going to basically call that whenever we left mouse click here. So let's plug that up. Can move it a little bit closer here. Compile, and we can get a good feeling of whether or not this is being called if we go back into our HUD reference and just do a print here. Let's actually do a branch first. So let's grab the mouse click and just do branch. And if it's true, we're going to print a string that says true. But if it's false, we'll print a string that says false. And that's of our mouse click boolean that is being called and set to true and false whenever the mouse click button is clicked and released. So let's see if that's working. So I'm going to left click and we see true. Oops, kind of minimized. I kind of canceled that out. But if you noticed, we didn't really see the released get called, which may not be a problem right now, but it is kind of concerning that we're not seeing that happen right away. But for right now, we know we're seeing it getting clicked, and in the left click mouse button, there's nothing we can really change here. We're going to leave that alone. So right now we have that call, and what we're going to do next pretty much is going to pave the way for the logic that we need going forward to basically move around our inventory and drag everything like that. So let's go back into our HUD. Let's get rid of these print strings. That was just a temporary kind of thing. And what we're going to need to create is a gate. So let's right click, type in gate. And just a normal gate, not a multi-gate. And what we're going to do for the enter is add a pin to that sequence that pulls from the event receive draw HUD. We're going to drag that, put that into the enter. And then we want this gate to open whenever the mouse click is true. And we want this to close when the mouse click is false. And then from here, this is where we're going to actually create some logic, but let's do another print, and we're going to keep it at hello. We're just going to see if it gets called, just to make sure everything's hooked up correctly. So right now, hello is not being printed, but if we left click, we hold it down, and hello keeps getting printed right there. And then we let go, and it still remains getting printed, which is a concern, which we may need to go ahead and figure out right now. So let me just take a look at my information here. So bear with me just a moment. Let's try this. Let's make a print here. Just type in released. So we're going to do a print string here back in the character where we turn the mouse click to false. So when the mouse button's released, we should see hello, or released. We do see released. But I think the problem right now is we need to plug this into this one as well. So let's try this again. And what we should see happening is while we're holding down the left mouse button, the word hello should be printed. Once we let go, it should stop being printed. So let's left click and hold it down. It's being printed. Then we let go, and it stops. So that's working. Okay, so that was the issue. We need to have both pressed and released, changing these variables, and then both calling inventory item mouse click. That's what we need to have happen right now. So next, what we're going to do is create a new macro that allows us to begin the drag and drop process. So let's go ahead, and we're going to have to create a couple of new variables within our HUD. There's going to be 5 in total, and they're all going to be booleans. So first, let's just get rid of this print string. We don't need that anymore. Let's go ahead and create some variables. All of them, again, are booleans. We're going to do b slot 1 drag, and then all of them got the same similarity. So b slot 2 drag. We're going to do this for all 5 inventory slots here. B slot 5 drag. Oops. I don't know why I just did 5. Let's do slot 3 drag. And then slot 4 drag. Let's compile that. And let's also make these public. So with that, let us go ahead and create our macro for the drag and drop logic. So new macro. And we're going to call this drag and drop logic. So in combination, we're going to be working on the ability to drag and drop, as well as inventory swapping. That's the same exact thing, but depending on where we let go of the object, that's whether or not it'll drop it back into the level, or if it'll switch position with a different object in our inventory. So what we're going to need to do, pretty much nothing special in terms of the input and outputs. Both of them are going to be executables. Name the first input in, the first output out. And then from here, we need to go ahead and create another macro within this macro. So things are going to get intense. So let's create a new macro, and we're going to name this check inventory slot dragging. And again, these are just going to have one input and one output, both executables. We'll name the first one in, and the second one out. And what we're going to do here is basically check the value of each of those each of those booleans that we just made for the slot 1 drag, slot 2 drag, all the way to 5. So let's go ahead and drag out the first one, slot 1 drag, create a branch. Hook it up to the input. And basically, if this is false, we want to check if slot 2 is being dragged or not. So let's drag out slot 2 drag. Do a branch. We're going to do this for all 5. So let's do slot 3. Oops. Never like when that happens. So we do this again for all 5 of our booleans here. So we'll do slot 4. Branch. And then last but not least, we'll do slot 5 and branch. And then if they're true, this is where actually we're going to need to change the output here. That was my fault. For output, we're going to have two executables. One's going to be called true. The second one's going to be called false. So we'll put the last false of the slot 5 drag into the false output. Otherwise, every single true is going to go into the true output. And there we go. So that's really all we need to do for that macro. So let's go back to the drag and drop logic macro. What we're going to do is we're going to grab that checking inventory slot dragging macro we just made. We're going to drag it out, plug the input into the in here. We'll move the output for now, get that out of the way. And now basically what we need to do is first we need to check to see if the menu bar is visible. So I believe we have that variable right here, that boolean. So we're going to drag that out. Oops, I dragged out delta time. Let me drag out menu bar visible. We're going to do a branch. And we're going to plug in the false into this branch. And then from here, we're actually going to need to create some variables here. Two, in fact, both of them are going to be floats. So let's create a variable. Again, they're float. The first one we're going to name mouse clicked X position. So mouse clicked X position. And then we're going to create another one for mouse clicked Y position. Compile, make those variables. And what we're going to need to do here, we basically need to get the location of where the player is clicking. And if they're clicking in an area where there's a item being drawn in our menu bar and the menu bar is visible, that's when we want to go ahead and start swapping things around in the inventory system, or even possibly just do that and just show what object you're clicking on. So we need to get the player controller. And from there we need to get the mouse position. And it's from here it breaks the location X and location Y. And we're going to set those variables accordingly. So from the true here, we're going to set the X. And then from there, we're going to set the Y. Now, what we need to do here is, if we remember, we have this certain position between the top of the menu bar and the bottom of it. There's two values for that. We can get that information again from our event graph, where the menu bar should be going from 625 to 760, I believe it is. Yeah, 760. So for the purposes of this, we're going to check to see if the mouse click positions between two different positions here. We're going to hard code those numbers in based on what I have in front of me here. So let's get the mouse clicked Y position. We're going to do a greater than or equal to as a float. The number we're going to compare that to is 635. So 635. We're going to do a branch. Let's organize this a little bit. Plug that branch to our mouse clicked Y position setter. And if it's true, then we want to check to see if it's less than or equal to 695. So almost an identical thing here. So let's grab the mouse click position for Y. Do a less than or equal to. We're going to just do 695. We're going to do another branch. Organize this. We're going to plug the true in to this branch. And then it's from here that we're going to start doing logic for checking for any kind of drag and drops. But we're first going to see if we can get this to print correctly. So we're going to do a print. We're going to do clicking on menu bar. And we're just going to see if that prints when we're clicking on the menu bar and it's visible. So let's compile, save, and let's jump in. So let's go here. The menu bar is visible right now, and if we left click, it doesn't look like we're getting anything coming up. So that's a problem. So let me review a couple things here. Bear with me just a moment. Let's see here. Okay, what we're going to need to do right now is create a new variable within our character class. Let's go ahead and make a new variable. It's going to be Boolean. And we're going to do basically a menu bar visibility Boolean. If anything, actually, let's not create a new one. Let's grab the HUD reference. Let's do is menu bar visible. Let's first check if that's public. So B underscore menu bar visible. Let's make that public. Go back to our character, and now we should be able to see the menu bar visible. So we're going to get that, and then we're going to do a branch. Because if the menu bar is visible and we're clicking within that, we don't want that to be called for the player to move. So I'm kind of confusing myself right now. So actually, we're going to have to create a new variable. So excuse me on that. Let's create a new Boolean variable. We'll just call this B menu visible. We'll make our own here. So we'll drag that out, do a branch, and basically for the input move click, we're going to do pressed, and we're going to go and drag that into our branch, and then from the branch, if it's true, we're not going to do anything. If it's false, then we're going to go ahead and plug it into basically allowing our player to move. So if anything, when the player's inventory is open, just depending on where we're clicking, we don't want the player to move at all. Because if I show you the main one, that finished product that we have, when the menu bar is visible and we click, the player is not going to be moving. But when the menu bar is gone, that's when we can move again. And then we just need to make sure we have that in place. So let's open up this comment a little bit. Let's drag this back. Let's make room for everything we just added. There we go. And we're going to have to call that later on. We're not going to focus on this Boolean right now. But pretty much when the HUD is up, we don't want the player to be moving if they click within that range. And again, we'll fix that later on. We don't have to worry about that right now. So again, what we have to worry about is the fact that clicking on menu bar is not being called correctly. So what we can do here is go into our HUD and go to drag and drop logic. And then from there we can play the game. And then with the game up, let me go ahead and move the player window out of the way. Drag that out. We can basically investigate. If we go into our HUD and go to debug and choose the class for our HUD, we can basically see whether or not what's happening in real time. So right now when we left click, the drag and drop logic's not even being called. And that might be because we're not calling it in this gate. So I'm dumb. So let's go to the drag and drop logic, drag and drop logic, and plug it in. So let's see, again, our end result, what we want to see is the words clicking on menu bar when we're clicking on the menu bar and it's visible. So let's see if we get it now. And let me move this back. Hold on. So now we have the menu bar up, and if we left click, we see clicking on menu bar show up. So we can mess with these numbers a little bit. So, but we are seeing that logic being called, which is good. So let's change this to 630, and we'll change this to 725. Let's go back and compile that and save it. Now we have our menu bar up, and we're seeing clicking on menu bar being called. And that works way better. I think the last thing we really want to do is get it so the player won't move if the HUD is up and we're seeing the menu bar show up. So we should make that change as well. So let's go to our main event graph for our HUD. And what we're going to do over in this section where we're actually, it's drawing everything for the HUD and the items, let's go ahead and drag these out, give this a little bit of space in between, and what we're going to do, we're going to disconnect the menu bar visible with, we're going to disconnect that from the play rate, and we're going to get the character reference, and we're going to drag out the boolean we had made earlier for B menu visible. Let's first make it public so we can call it. Let's go back to HUD. Let's do menu visible, and we're going to set it. We're going to set it to true here. Oops. Plug that up, and then plug that back into the play rate here. And then we're going to do almost the same thing down here, except we're going to make it false. So let me drag that out just a little bit. Disconnect that. And then all we have to do here is just organize a little bit of things and just make the B menu visible false here. Compile, save, and now with our menu bar up and we left click, our player shouldn't move, and it's true. And then when it's gone, we can move. So that's exactly what we want, and now we have the ability to click within our menu bar, and our system recognizes that we are clicking on the menu bar. So just to kind of recap, because things did get a little confusing, what we first needed to do in our player character is call the event for left mouse button clicking, and when we click it and it's pressed, we make our variable B is mouse click true, and then when it's released we make it false, and then they both go into our custom event in our HUD for inventory item mouse click, and this custom event relies on the value of the mouse click. So if it's true or if it's false will determine what it's going to be doing. And then in the HUD we have that custom event here, and we have that value of the mouse click go into a branch, and if it's true that we're clicking, we're going to open up this gate to allow us to check for drag and drop logic. Once we unclick or release the click, it'll turn false, it'll close this gate, and then it won't allow us to do anything with this drag and drop logic. And then before we go into the drag and drop logic, back into our player class, we created a new variable for B menu visibility. And we have that checked here, so if the menu is not visible, we'll be able to click wherever we want and move to that location. But if that menu is visible, then we don't have the ability for the player to move. And we basically have that done here in our player HUD. where whenever the menu bar is being drawn, we turn that character variable here true, and when the menu bar disappears and we don't see it anymore, we turn that variable back to false, and that controls that logic. And then back here, the meat and potatoes of what we're doing right now. At the exit of the gate, we have our drag and drop logic macro, and it's in here where we first call check inventory slot dragging. We want to see whether or not we're trying to drag any of these slots anywhere within the menu. And then if we're not, what we're going to be doing is checking to see if the menu bar is visible. And if it is, we're going to get the player controller so we can get the mouse position location. And then this is all upon clicking. So whenever we click, we get the location of the X and Y of the mouse, and then we set these to these new variables that we made for mouse clicked X position and mouse clicked Y position. So we have those set, and then from there we check to see if the player is basically clicking within that range in the Y for where our menu bar would be visible. And what we have set to is 630 to 725. And if they are clicking, we get that clicking on menu bar print come up. And then what we're going to do next video is basically start controlling our logic here for it. So we're going to disconnect this print string, and we're going to continue making additional macros so that we can then have our items be dragged and dropped within our level as well as within our menu bar. But that'll be the next video. So I'll see you guys next time. I want to just say thanks for watching. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Definitely appreciate the more support we have. Comment, let me know if this got confusing. Hopefully the recap of it cleared things up. Also comment with any issues you may have or any ways you've been implementing this system so far. Like the video as well as share the video. Let's get it out there. So again, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hey guys, thanks again for watching. If you want to see more videos, you can click on either the top right or the bottom right videos for more tutorials and for more Unreal Engine 4 examples. And also, if you click on me or the subscribe button above me, you'll be able to subscribe to the Devin Level Design YouTube channel. If you do subscribe, then I want to say thank you for doing so, and definitely appreciate the support you guys have given me so far. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks again for watching. Bye.